check the recording. Let's see, make sure it's recording. Yes, okay. I've seen some of your business ideas. Many of them are maybe not, half thought out. For example, a coffee shop. The coffee market is extremely competitive. It's a huge market, so that's good. But it's extremely competitive, so when you're thinking about doing a cafe or a coffee shop, you have to make some decisions about who you want to compete against, who you're trying to reach. Somebody wrote that their competition might be Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, the coffee house, for example. Excuse me. That's a little bit early, right? You're starting one coffee shop, so it's not really going to be competing with a chain of coffee shops yet. It's a little bit early for that. So I think you're not going to compete with street coffee either. Probably you'll be, if you wanted to say that you were going to open like a set of cafes, 3 or 4 to start, I would understand that. There are some chains around, you might notice, Napulai Coffee, maybe Laha Coffee. Is Say Coffee only one shop? Maybe it's only one shop. Anyway, you kind of have to take that idea one more step. Then, excuse me, then I see some ideas where somebody's telling me already who their target market is exactly. They're telling me where their location is going to be. They're telling me who their competition is going to be, what their prices are going to be. That's too far for this point, right? We haven't done any research. The point of making decisions about all of the things that you're writing is that you base it on some research that you've done. So the point of this task is to do the research and to be able to justify those decisions. So that's too much. So we have too far, right? We have one person, they had 3 ideas. The first idea was a cafe. The second idea was compound. And the third idea was BEME. Those are the ideas, 3 of them. They're like the most common 3 kinds of businesses or services in the city. So with that much competition, you're not just going to be selling like the Sunheo or just a normal banh mi. You're going to have to do something that's going to be a little bit different. And likely you're going to be trying to attract Vietnamese customers. So it's going to have to be something that Vietnamese customers are going to accept. So some ideas are too specific and some are too general for this point. I need to approve everybody by Thursday because you got to get started on the research this weekend. So I hope you're in touch with your partner. That's the first thing. I still have a bunch of people who didn't turn in anything. So I'm going to upload this on Tuesday. If you're going to get approved by me by Thursday, you have to get this to me by tonight, really. Again, your idea has to be approved in order for it to go forward. Some people are still offering mass market products. You have to be very careful about that, right? The 3 rules, I'll explain one more time. The 3 rules are no mass market products. It has to be something that you're able to promote, advertise to a local market, something around here that you'll understand this market and you'll be able to attract them. You're not going to have advertising budgets for a mass market. You're not going to make TV ads. You're not going to go that far. We're going to simple advertising. Try to reach a smaller market in the city. Second, Manufacturing is very complicated. You can make some small things, of course. You can make food products. You can have a bakery, I assume. You can have a pizzeria, some restaurants. Basically, okay. You can make somebody said they want to make phone cases. I don't know. Can you make that at your house? Do you have a 3D printer? What do you need to do that? I don't know. But you need a factory. If you need a factory, if you have to go one step up and you have to have a factory, it's going to be too complicated. I'm just saying that. So that's number 2. And the third thing was don't sell other people's brands. Most ideas did not contain that, did not have that problem, but a few people said, oh, I want to open a clothing shop and sell different brands, or a perfume shop and sell different brands. That's not going to work. You have to rely on your, excuse me, God. You have to rely on your ability to make your brand. People have to want to buy whatever you're selling because of your brand image, not because you sell someone else's brand that already has an image. So that's what I was talking about, public image, is that you have image transfer. So whatever you sell has a psychological feeling for the customer. The customer has a perception of your brand compared to others. If you use Nike or you use another brand, then you're taking the perception that the customer has of Nike and taking advantage of that. So that's not going to work. All right, so I'll just highlight the definition of marketing again here on the video. There are many definitions of marketing. However, put broadly, marketing is a mix of business activities, the marketing mix, that works towards a bigger goal of building your brand and business. Marketing is about identifying and understanding your customers and developing products and services that meet their needs. That's product. Marketing is important across many areas of your business, including how your customers are greeted on the phone. So that's customer service. Your customer service procedures, what your staff wear, and other elements of your communication to customers. Here, 2 different definitions, 2 more less specific. Marketing is the management process responsible for identifying, anticipating, and satisfying customer needs, requirements profitably. Profitably, making money from it. Another quote is, marketing is getting the right product or service in the right quantity, so you know you have enough, you're not wasteful, to the right place and the right time, and making a profit in the process. Marketing is about understanding and identifying your customer and understanding your customer and giving them what they want. It's not just about advertising and promotion of the business. So making an advertisement wouldn't be enough for this. Let's see, what's here? Where's my PowerPoint? There. Okay. So this was the handout that I gave you earlier in the semester. So this is the PEST analysis, right? This is the external market environment. This is what you have been thinking about, just started to think about in your task. And we have 3 different research areas here. Actually, the research areas are the external environment, customers, understanding your customers, and not right now, but in a few weeks, competition. So right now, you should be thinking about the industry, the market that you're entering, and trying to think about some of the things that affect that market. And then eventually you get to the point where you're able to make decisions about elements of your customers. This is for customers, and this is against your competition. And then you have a strategy that you'll make. Now at the top of the page, it says, developing or narrowing down your strategy with quantitative and qualitative screening criteria. Quantitative means numbers, and qualitative means that you're understanding your customers, that you're able to get information that supports you. This looks like a Simon game, actually. So all those things are happening. This is where you start. This is why you need to get your idea ready and approved so you can get moving on these research topics. So the first one you're probably going to do is going to be an environmental, understanding the environment of your business, which is what I want you to do this weekend. So that means understanding what you're going to face in the environment. So I'll go through a little bit of that with you here. So I don't know how to fit the window. Eliminate this box. This box to go away. Oh no. That's better. Uh-oh. That's fun. Go back. Okay, so sometimes this let me make it so you can see it better. Okay, so we'll look at the general environment of the U.S. Marketplace and some of the influences that are happening that you might think about in your market. You're like a little company in a big ocean, so all the things are happening. And you have to respond to them. You can't control them. The definition of external environment is some of the things that you cannot really control. So, what's happening in the United States? Here, we can see that the population is becoming more diverse. President Trump from my country is in India right now. Apparently, the Indian population in the U.S. has doubled in the last 7 or 8 years, or went up by 40%. So there's a lot more influence. Obviously, there's people moving there all the time. For some reason, people still want to move there. I don't really understand why. But the demographics means that different kinds of groups of people that can be measured by, culture, age, gender is changing a lot. Obviously, influence of products that are being bought and sold from China is also an influence. This is giving us some kind of basis for understanding the kinds of PEST factors, the changes, or at least the things that we have to respond to. So PEST starts with P here. We have that as politics, political, also could be considered regulatory, regulation from the government. So if you're selling, if you have a bar, somebody suggested that they would have a bar, you are subjected to the laws of the age that people can buy alcohol, just basic. The laws about when your business can stay open, how late you can be open. Employment laws, there's a bunch of laws that you have to consider. Safety laws for employees, so we have laws protecting competition between, this is in the bigger sense, laws protecting competition. You don't worry about that in a bigger market. Competition laws are based on companies with huge market share that might have monopoly power Laws affecting your actions and your marketing mix, your choices of prices, your location. Are you allowed to locate your business in certain areas and sell certain products? I'm sure that there's limits to what you can sell right next to a school, for example. So marketing mix. So any laws that affect the four elements: product, safety, price, perhaps there's unfair price competition, promotion, there's many illegal promotional activities, at least in Australia, I don't know if in Vietnam. So false advertising, for example, and location, so where you can put the business or how you can sell things. So the competitive environment is also an environmental force, but we're not going to look at the competition until later. Second force, PE, economic. What are the conditions of the economy in general? Macroeconomic. That means the whole economy. So people have rising incomes, there's a recession, there's a boom. Interest rates are going up or down. People have access to being able to borrow money more easily. Income is the product or service. Most of you are going to have products or services that are let's say, discretionary or a luxury or a want rather than a need. Most of the needs would be in the mass market products, things that we have to have, milk and toothpaste and shampoo and whatever. But so for you, consumer income matters because people will not stop buying shampoo. They will always be buying it, even if they have to buy a cheaper shampoo, even if the economy is terrible, but they won't buy donuts, right? You'll be the first thing to go. So you're a want, right? Most of you are going to be luxuries of some sort. Not luxuries like expensive, but something that people don't necessarily need to buy. They can have it, but they don't need it. So if the economy's bad or consumer income goes down, you're the first one to go, right? Before food and rent. Economic conditions, social conditions, S. Demographic shifts, we'll talk about demographics again. Demographics is changes in the character of a population, not character and personality, but the character and the makeup of the ages and the genders and the nationalities. And other cultural changes. Cultural changes can be reflective of laws, but they can also be reflective of societal changes in what's acceptable. T, technological, changing technology. Of course, that's a big subject. Technology's impact on customer value. I believe that that's getting at what the customer, it's a little bit like a social thing too. How does technology change the way people shop and their behavior and how they want to buy things? And of course, all the business technologies. Two examples would be online retailing, selling through websites, and then payment methods, online payment methods. More people have bank cards than they had before. Okay, and you'll have to adapt to those, right? If all of your competition uses Mocha, this prepaid system, perhaps you have to use it as well. Okay. Here's some more examples of trends that might be identified by what would be called the environmental scan. Maybe I can make this slightly bigger. Let's see. Well, I'll put this on the internet. Okay, social elements, expanded use of social networks, Facebook, etc., and collaborative web services. Maybe the population is increasingly mobile. People move more, so increasing mobility. A growing concern over global warming and climate change, people caring more about the environment. Those would all be social factors. Economic, shift to a global economy, so competition from abroad, new competition from overseas, that would affect people's choices. Baby boomers are older. That's the generation after my parents, basically. My parents are 70 something at the moment, so they have different needs than, so different groups of people have different needs, right? You can imagine new parents have different choices that they would make compared to older, retired people, even compared to teenagers, right? All of you have different motivations about how you spend your money. So as population gets older, for example, maybe their needs change. There's a need for more nurses and hospitals and medical care. There are other economic shifts. We can talk about, it's very complicated, but there's Bitcoin and people moving their money out of the traditional economies. People are finding different ways to pay for things internationally. Technological, people are carrying around entertainment devices now, so advertising is changing. I know we're all really annoyed with YouTube. Over the last 2 years, their advertising has got worse and worse and worse and worse. It's incredible. Other technological aspects, biometrics, security cameras, being able to recognize customers from facial recognition, people carrying power sources in their pocket, right? People having portable, renewable power sources. Technology, there's a million things happening there. Regulatory, maybe this is an internal issue here. The government is requiring that people store records of their companies more. You get more receipts, right? More and more receipts every day. Greater concern for privacy and personal information collection. So, with the increase in use of technology, the questions about how your privacy is maintained are quite strong. Competition, we don't really have to talk about that right now. Social forces, those are very general. These are generational changes affect. I'm this one, X. That's me. You are millennials. You'll probably see that term a lot. Millennials. Generational marketing. So obviously what attracts you is going to be different from what attracts me. Olay, Hyatt, and Motorola. 3 examples. What would be the generational group being targeted? You can't see it here, but I'll put it up. The tagline of this advertisement is, when you can wash away the years. Wash away the years. That doesn't mean young. That means probably middle-aged. What happens when you design a hotel around double overtime? This guy is hanging around watching a basketball game, and he's got a big screen TV in his hotel room. It's not a cheap hotel. So I would guess it's not so different. I would say it's also middle-aged. Then we have the Motorola, you're so hip and cool. If you have the Razor phone, it's kind of an old phone right now, right? Really old. But it's targeting, obviously, maybe a younger, new in the workforce type of crowd. Demographics, population is moving to certain states from others. People expect California, Texas, and Florida to get more populated, and these states to lose. I don't know what this means. The United States has a lot of different ethnic groups there, so certain populations live in certain areas. Latino people live in the West a lot more. Culture, changing values, social forces, economic forces, inflation and recession, income, total income, disposable income. That's how much money you have to spend extra after you pay for your rent, after you pay for your food. If you analyze a country or a market, you can see what the average income is for different groups of people in your target market. Technology, the cost. If you want a good smartphone now, it's pretty cheap. If you want Apple, it's pretty expensive. So customers have to make choices. Are they just interested in having a phone that has all the features they want, or do they want to have an Apple? Do they need to have that? Of course, there's a bunch of new products within your phone that are also developed in the App Store, and lots of developments there. Which is why I don't, a few years ago, maybe if people advertised or they tried to make, talk about their advertising plan, and they said, use Facebook, and I would say, okay, but now, no. Facebook is like TV. You have to say now how you're going to use it. You're not just going to put advertisements on every TV channel, in every program all the time. You have to pick something that meets the needs of your target market, or that's interesting for people the age that you're trying to meet. So Facebook is also much more complicated, so you have to discuss now how you're going to use Facebook. Facebook is more like a media now. It's not like a magazine. It's not like one type of media. It's a whole platform. This is a DVD player. That got eliminated by streaming movies. This is a something for typing. Typing with a keyboard isn't the fastest way to type anymore. So now people, maybe they just talk into the microphone and it writes. They can have text from voice. This one is about music. They'll send you CDs and you can listen all you want. Of course, what would replace that in the future? I mean, Spotify is a more popular version of the same thing now, but I don't know. What's going to replace Spotify? Is there anything? Is this the end? That's what the question you ask yourself about technology in the market. Is this the end? What's going to change in that market? Okay, so this is political factors. Big companies care about protecting competition. When you have big companies, sometimes there's only two big companies like Coke and Pepsi. And so when you have two big companies, anybody else who wants to enter the market, it's quite difficult for them to enter it. So they need protection by these laws. And you can see, for a long time, it's been 100+ years that we've had problems with competition in the market. One company getting too big. But these are more important for you. Patent laws, we'll talk about that when we do the business plan. And copyright laws, protecting your intellectual property. Labeling laws, we'll talk about these. If you're selling something, people want to know what's in it. They want to know the ingredients. Product safety, you have to comply with product safety law. There's a lot of consumer protection we'll talk about. One of these is like doppelgangers. That means that you make your logo that's too similar to something like Starbucks in this example. Branding, these are all very strong brands, actually. There's other laws that come into effect, probably just starting in Vietnam, about pricing, about how you can price products. This one is kind of interesting, tithing arrangements here. If companies like Apple, anybody who's had an Apple phone knows that they've had to buy extra accessories that they really didn't plan on buying. In the US, those accessories are extremely expensive, and paying for them and buying them is, when you buy the phone, you don't realize that you need to buy an extra wire in order to connect to your computer or something like that. It could cost $30 or $40. That's what they tie products together. If you buy one thing, you have to buy another thing. You have to use iTunes with Apple. You can't just use a normal PC hard drive and drag and drop. So they have all these things tied into Apple that make it, in some cases, have been said to be illegal. They trap you into using their products. So in general, that's all, that was the main thing that I wanted to get at with, just to understand PEST. We'll talk about it next week. Again, you're going to be looking at the environment for your business over the weekend, and also going to start to move on to customers by next week. We have to move faster now because we lost time. So the next thing is called segmenting this market. So I'm going to be in your book. So in the book, I'm still on chapter 5. Last class we talked about segmenting a little bit, which means to divide the market up into groups. And then talk about market share and trying to figure out the size of your market. How many people would be willing to buy it or be interested in your product? At this point, you should just be estimating what that would be. So, but you really should probably get together with your partner this weekend and try to make a plan and try to work out. I'll put the marketing plan online by Friday. You'll have a copy of it online, so you'll be able to see the task. When we get back, we have to have a quiz directly when we come back. It's going to be about public image, so be ready for that too. Or maybe we'll have it on Friday, just for one period. It won't be very long. Okay, now I'm on page 39, chapter 5, market segmentation. To complete the segmentation step of this process, segmentation of the market means dividing the market up in a way that you can see what your target market would be. To complete the segmentation step of this process, markets can be divided on the basis of demographic, geographic, psychographic, lifestyle, and behavioral characteristics of the population. Demographic characteristics describe attributes, qualities of the consumer population. Geographic characteristics outline where the consumers live. Lifestyle characteristics describe the attitudes and values of the population. For example, what emotional satisfaction do people get from buying a product? Besides the product they buy, do they get anything? Is there any benefit to them? Does it fit their values? A car really does say something about someone's values, right? Somebody buys this guy buys this big, super huge car that's not even fitting on the roads and not very useful, and it makes a lot of noise. It says something about the person who's driving it. Finally, behavioral characteristics describe how the population would use the product. So in this case, it's more related to the buying use of it and how people buy it, how often people go to the store. Do they buy it every week? Is it, how often do you buy shoes? Once every 6 months? Once every year? Twice a year? Which kind of shoes? Maybe there's dress shoes. Maybe you buy them all the time. Maybe there's basketball shoes. They last for a year. So depending on what you're selling, the consumer is going to buy it, you know, in a thoughtful way. They're going to shop a lot and compare, like a laptop, or they're going to buy it like a Kit Kat. They're just going to go into the shop and say, oh, there's a Kit Kat, and just get it and stuff their face. So what kind of behavior does the consumer have around that product? Okay, so on the next page we have a division of these things, a little bit into groups, but I think what I'll do is I'll get into the tutor to you for a minute before my voice breaks.
Times. The housing bubble.
Hi there. In this business topic video, I'm going to introduce you to an important and widely used model of marketing strategy called STP, which is all about segmentation, targeting and positioning. Now when businesses make decisions as to how to develop their marketing strategy and decide how to try to create value for customers, there are essentially two issues they have to consider. Firstly, of course, they have to choose which customers they want to target, which customers they want to sell to. And the challenge here is to segment the market, to find the different parts of the market that are most attractive, and then to target which segments do they want to focus on in order to have the best chance of success. And having identified the market segments and which are the ones they want to target, the next question is how best to compete in that market, how to serve the customers in the target market segment.
You might have recognized these terms from the other PowerPoint. Positioning, differentiation, targeting, and segmentation. Those are here. So, to define them again, segmentation means to figure out exactly the age and the gender and the income and the education level and the family status of the groups of people you want to sell to, and then making a decision how to target them. So you're entering it. Differentiation, what makes your product different from the competition? That's a big story, we'll talk about it later. When you look at competition, and positioning. Positioning has to do with how the customers look at your brand. So we talked about that already a little, but it's also a bigger story.
And the issue here is around market positioning. How do you identify the right positioning for your product in terms of the features that the target customers want? So what we'll do is we'll look very briefly at each of these things: market segmentation, targeting, and positioning. We'll look in more detail at them in separate topic videos. But for now, let's just have an overview of each of the parts of this model: segmentation, targeting, positioning, which is often shortened to STP. Market segmentation is about identifying the different parts of the market where customers have similar needs and wants. Of course, the segment can be very large, where nearly all the consumers in the market have similar needs and wants, or it could be very specialist, a niche segment. And in different ways, as we'll see in a later video, of segmenting the market, perhaps based around household income, so income segmentation, perhaps based around age or gender, demographic segmentation, where people live, geographic segmentation, all the ways in which consumers behave, behavioural segmentation. So we'll look at those in more detail in a later video. What you need to know at this stage, though, is that there are different ways of segmenting markets, not just one. The key benefits of segmenting the market is that it enables a business to be much more focused around where it places its marketing efforts. And in particular, that's useful if you're developing new products and services designed to meet the specific needs and wants of the customers in that segment. Essentially, the most important benefit of market segmentation is it enables the marketing mix to be more accurate, to be better focused. One of the issues, of course, with segmentation is that this isn't a precise science. There's a lot of overlap between segments, and just because you can identify what you believe to be a group of customers with similar needs and wants doesn't mean that you'll be able to reach those customers. Another issue with market segmentation is that these segments are fast changing and very dynamic. So whilst you might be using some reasonably up-to-date information about those segments, it can easily be out of date by the time you're able to action it. So market segmentation is all about identifying the different parts of the market. The next issue is how do you target the customers in the segments that you want to compete in. There are three different ways of targeting market. Let's just briefly look at those. Firstly, there's mass marketing, which is sometimes known as undifferentiated targeting. And the strategy here is that you target the whole market. You don't spend too much time trying to break the market down into different segments. You try to find ways in which all customer needs and wants can be met, and try to deliver a product that meets all of those needs and wants. However, very few businesses are able to do that successfully, and increasingly, of course, what they find themselves doing is trying to break the market down into segments and in some way to differentiate their product. So the idea here, the strategy here is...
Alright, this gives us a chance to talk about this idea of mass versus niche market again. So, three main strategies for targeting a market. Okay, it's talking about mass market. The business targets the whole market. I don't know if you can see it. I would like to take this line out there, but it doesn't want to go away. The whole market. So when you're, if you have a mass product, there's not really a target market, except for maybe the people who buy that in the family. So everybody uses toilet paper, but who's the one who does the shopping? So maybe if you're trying to sell your, product competitively with another product, you want to appeal to people who are doing the shopping for the family. So, but in the biggest case, for most products in the mass market, you're not really trying to segment into a group. You're just trying to, you sell to everyone. Segmented groups, business targets several market segments within the same market. Car company. Many car companies sell to different levels of consumer. So we'll have a simple, basic Kia Mornings type of car that's sold to moms, young families, and then maybe we'll have a bigger car, like some kind of pickup truck that's for working people who need to carry stuff around. Or we'll have a luxury version that's for people who are richer. So one car company can have 4 or 5 different models that appeal to different segments of the market. So for the most part, that's not what we're doing. We might have 2 segments, maybe, like donuts. Somebody suggested donuts. Maybe we would have like a family segment and then a young people snacking segment, maybe. Or pizza might have the same kind of segments. And then we have concentrated, which is a niche. It's something that people are particularly interested in. A niche focuses narrowly on a smaller segment. And your goal is to reach those customers very directly and develop a strong market position with people who know you because you specialize in a certain product. Two ideas that people had that they sent to me yesterday. Pet cafe. I don't understand it. Every year someone wants to do a pet cafe. Does anybody go to a pet cafe? What do you get from going to a pet cafe? I don't understand. I don't get it. I really don't. Especially I'm allergic to cats. So I would die if I went to a cat cafe. I would just be sneezing the whole time. But isn't it weird to be with these animals that are kept and then who, you know, it's like, I don't understand. It's like, I would only be, I mean, I'll be friendly with any dog that's like a friendly dog, but I don't really want to meet 10 dogs. I don't understand. But every year somebody wants to do a pet cafe. I don't understand the niche. I don't even think they're popular. Another thing that people try to develop as a niche, and it might be more successful, I guess, is a book cafe. Every year someone thinks, I want to do a book cafe. I've seen them. I've seen book cafes, but I'm not sure what you get out of a book cafe. I never think, oh, okay, I need a book. What should I do? Should I can order it on Amazon, I can download it illegally, I can look for an audiobook online, I need a book. But no, I'm gonna go to a cafe and then just pick some random book and then read the book, or it helps me to find books. What happens in a book cafe? I don't understand. I understand a cafe that like would be, you know, for students who are studying, where you have to turn off your mobile phones or something. It's like a library or something like that. But I don't really understand a book cafe. If you have a cafe that was just entertainment for maybe anime or, you know, manga interests or some otaku story where there's people who go there who can see some Japanese comic books that they normally wouldn't be able to buy, or there's something that you can, international newspapers or something that you can get some information or entertainment that you cannot get online or somewhere else. Okay, it makes sense. But book cafe, I never really understand it. So those are niches, those are very narrow markets, but I'm not sure, yeah, so I don't know. I have to be convinced that those are good ideas. Continuing.
Find one or two or more target market segments within the broad market, and then you design products and services that hopefully will be hitting the needs of customers in each segment. One of the implications for this is that you're going to probably need a separate marketing plan and a separate marketing mix for each of those segments. And the third approach of targeting is to really focus, really concentrate your marketing, concentrate your products on a very small part of the overall market. It's called a niche, or concentrated marketing. And the aim here, of course, is to try and identify a profitable niche where you can very quickly build a strong market position and hopefully maximise the returns. And so we've dealt with targeting now, and we've dealt with market segmentation. Let's just spend a couple of minutes on what we mean by market positioning. So having chosen which segments we want to target and which customers are in those segments, what we now have to do is to decide how to compete effectively in that target market. And this concept is called the value proposition. That's the essential part of market positioning. The important thing here is to always remember that market positioning and the value proposition should be from the customer point of view, not from the business's point of view. Because ultimately it's customers who buy products and services.
This is probably a good general rule to consider. I also noticed some of the ideas that people had. The ideas that were you told me what your pricing strategy was, who your customers were, where your location would be. And I was thinking, okay, but what if the customers don't want to pay that price? What if they don't want to drive to District 9 or 1 or wherever? This is why we're doing market research, but the idea is that the choices The understanding of what you offer to the customer is not based on what your interests are. It's not based on what you make. Now, it's possible in some cases that you might say, mini golf, everyone loves it. I know that people love mini golf. I'm gonna make it mini golf and people will just come. That's it. I know it. And you will build it and they will come. It's possible. But it's not really based on market research and you're gonna be lucky if you're successful that way. You have to understand what the customer thinks they get. What is their perception? What do they see as the value of your company? So that's why you do the research. Because you're not making, you could say that you want to have a cafe that plays, I don't know, Western music, rock music, whatever. But if nobody wants to listen to that, you would be happy to sit there and have no customers all day by yourself, but no one else would want to come there. So you have to figure out what the customers want and what they perceive as the value, not necessarily what you want to sell to them. What your interests are may be similar to your customers, but they may also be different.
And if their view on what value is different from what yours is, that's tough. Those are the guys who are making the decisions. So the value proposition is all about the position the product takes in the market, based around the dimensions that are important from the customer's point of view. And one way of mapping this position, particularly compared to the competition, is to put together what's known as a market map or a positioning map. So let's just briefly look at what we mean by a positioning map. Markets, of course, in terms of what customers want, can be defined in various different dimensions. Obviously, the most obvious one, I guess, is low price to high price. And similarly, customers also have different needs and wants based around their need for basic quality all the way through to high quality. But there are lots of other dimensions. For example, a product could be a necessity, or it could, at the other end of the scale, be a luxury. It could be very low tech, it could be very high tech. So what a market map or a positioning map tries to do is to map the different positions or value propositions of products based around a selection of two dimensions. And clearly, the dimensions that are chosen are subjective, as is the position of the product on the positioning map. So on the screen there is just an example of how you might position a bunch of different chocolate products based around two traditional dimensions of quality.
This is just a very, the most basic introduction to the idea of position, and it's something you don't know what you're not sure about until you look at your competition, as an example here. So, leaving out for a second that perhaps some of these companies, these brands are made by the same company, assuming they're all different companies. What is the perception that people have of the chocolate? And the most traditional way to measure a position, you can do it in different ways, but the most traditional way is to compare quality versus price. That's a version of what value is. So in the top right-hand corner, right, you get very expensive chocolate, it's the highest price, and it's great quality, and that's expected. Sometimes you would hope to get something that's higher quality at a lower price, so maybe the perception is that Cadbury is higher quality, still pretty good quality or good enough, but the price is much lower than these other chocolates here. Sometimes things have high prices and low quality. I've seen that quite a bit. And then we have something that's a low price and quite low quality as well, or at least reasonable quality at a low price, like Kit Kat. That's why Kit Kats are very popular. They don't actually have a lot of chocolate in them, right, if you think about it. And then we have the Kinder Egg. The Kinder Egg actually probably in Vietnam should be over here. It's quite high price to buy a Kinder Egg compared to our budget, and you don't really buy it for the chocolate, right? No one says, oh my God, this is a delicious Kinder Egg. No, they just want to look inside and see what the prize is going to be. So that's an example of positioning. So it gets very complicated when you think about how you can change your public image in a brand. So Skoda, let's take Skoda as an example. Skoda was here, right? Well, Skoda at the beginning was high quality at a pretty high price. So it'd be similar to right here. After the change in politics and government, Skoda went all the way down here. Maybe at that time it wasn't super low price, but it was super low quality. So it's way down here near the Kinder Egg. And after the revolution in 1989, they wanted to change their perception from here and move their position in the market. So now Skoda is in the middle in terms of price, and it has a high quality, so it's Cadbury. So over time, you can see here, it went from this kind of high level, I don't know what that's called, but I don't know, some expensive chocolate to Kinder Surprise to Cadbury. So they went three different, not even Kinder Surprise, like the surprise is the car won't start. But anyway, so when you go from different positions, you have marketing strategies to change your positions. We'll talk about that later.
And price. And you might argue as to whether we put those products in the right position, but that's just one perspective on that product and that market from one customer's perspective. And that's the idea of the positioning map, to try and identify where there may be some gaps in the market that may be successful. Now, don't forget, with positioning, the key issue here is it's from the point of view of customers. And what a business needs to do is to try and find a value proposition that gives it a competitive advantage. What this means is that from a customer point of view, the product is perceived as being offering superior value. However, the customer determines value. But there are lots of different ways in which value can be delivered. Let's just have a look at 4 possible positioning strategies before we finish. One way, of course, is to offer much more value, but for a low price. Lots of businesses try to offer that good quality, acceptable quality, but for very low prices, where the perceived value is therefore high compared to the price. How about the third one down there, offering more for the same? So the price stays the same, but you reposition your product by maybe offering some new features or a better performance for the same price. That might be a successful positioning strategy. The key issue here is that there's more than one way of positioning your product for success, but it's all about understanding how customers perceive them.
Right, it's understanding. The customers have to see you the way that you have to communicate to customers in a way that they understand you, and it's effective to reach the people who want to, who are interested in the value that you're offering. So, yeah, so we have to know a lot about our customers before we can actually make decisions.
So what we've done is we've just looked briefly there at this concept, this marketing concept called STP, Segmentation.
All right, so I'm just going to go over, I'm on page 40, I'm just going to go over through segmentation for a couple minutes and then we'll be done for today. Okay. So on page 40, at the top of the page, it says the target market for a luxury is an example. The target market for a luxury ice cream business, so luxury ice cream, can we compare that to something here? Maybe Fanny ice cream is quite good. For a luxury ice cream business might be described as women, females, aged 30 to 40, with an income above 60,000 Australian dollars a year, who have no children, single women eating ice cream by themselves, and no children, living in urban areas in Australia. If you did more research, you might find out that they have strong opinions about their lifestyle choices and how they like to relax. And they also enjoy status. Status and names and brands associated with being able to afford more expensive products. The ingredients perceived to be of a higher quality. So here's the 4 kinds of segmentation that you have to do. In this example, demographic would be age and income. Geographic would be living in the urban area. Lifestyle would be I guess in this case they probably live, work hard, play hard kind of thing. And usage, I don't know how often they eat this ice cream, but that would be an example of the behavior. To look at a couple other examples of how we can divide demographics, examples of market segmentation, page 40, middle of the page. Market characteristics, things that would be included in demographics. Income, that matters. Gender, sometimes matters, sometimes doesn't, obviously. It would matter more for, I don't know, cars maybe. Age level, and when we think about age, it's not just the age that somebody is, it's what's happening. It starts to go to the lifestyle of the people, right? People who have a family, they are thinking differently about money. For me, before I had 2 children, I never thought about saving. I need to save money for my children's education, but now that's the #1 thing. So age is also affected by your behavior. Education level, sometimes there's different education levels that have associations with different products. Occupation, jobs, manufacturing jobs, office jobs. Nationality, maybe the nationality, maybe in Saigon, if you want to segment a market between local Vietnamese and Nui-Nukwai, it's possible. Religion, maybe. I guess religion comes into play when there's religious restrictions on what you can sell people. So if you're in India, you're not supposed to be able to eat beef. You cannot eat cows. So you cannot have hamburgers, for example. Family size is going to, that goes into factors about how much people spend again. Generation, maybe the trends are different, or I think the biggest difference in generation is probably in how they use technology, how much technological use goes on, so that might be a factor. Social class, I don't know what that means. Geographic, in our case, we're talking about people who live in the city, but if you have other kinds of products, mass market products, you have to make considerations for how people shop, population, how many people where they shop, how you can reach them. It fits into place very, very a lot. Geographic, how you meet your customers, where they're going to be. They could be online, so they could be everywhere. So it depends on how you figure out your location of your customers. Lifestyles. Once you get to know and interview some of your customers, you should understand what's important to them, what their opinions are, what they feel is important to them. Are they outgoing? Are they reserved? Do they like to eat? Do they like to consume the product publicly or privately? What are their interests? What kind of activities do they do? So that helps you to know where you can advertise to them. So if you know about their lifestyle, their attitudes, if they watch football, if they're big football fans, you can advertise during football matches. Leisure activities. What do people do for fun? Values, beliefs. If it's a customer, if these are customers who are educated about climate change and environmental issues, you don't want to give them too much packaging because it'll make them feel bad. So that kind of thing. Paper straws are getting more popular. And then you have behavior. Behavior, I think this is well written, how the consumer treats the products. This is probably one of the most important parts of this. The other ones you can identify in a very general way. This one you have to figure out and ask questions. How do they treat the product? Do they treat it as something that's important that needs to be kept for a long time? Is it disposable? Do they use it one time? Do they use it a bunch of times? Usage. How often do they buy it? Again, it could be bubble tea. How many times a week do people buy bubble tea? I probably buy it once every, because I'm trying to watch my weight, once every 2 weeks. I like it, but that's not, most people or many young people would buy it 3 or 4 times a week. Loyalty. How loyal are the customers to that brand? I like Boba Bop. If I have a choice and I can just get whatever I want and any bubble tea, I would choose Boba Bop. But I will drink other bubble tea, but I like that one the best. I'm kind of loyal, sort of. When I buy basketball shoes, I'll buy other brands, but I usually end up, about 50 or 60% of the time I'll end up with Nikes. I'm pretty loyal to things I like. CC Lemon, where did it go? So some customers are very loyal. Starbucks, oh, I might be loyal. Special events, what kind of, I guess that's similar to leisure activities. Status, how people feel about what they buy in terms of other people. Convenience, that's a huge thing. How convenient does a product have to be for people to want to use it? How much work are people willing to put in? Example, IKEA furniture. Some countries or some people, they're not willing to put the furniture together themselves. They want it ready-made. They want convenience, they just want it in. They don't want to do anything. Some people are happy to put it together. Benefits wanted, that's also related to lifestyle. Benefits wanted, what does the customer perceive as what they need and want from the product. Readiness, how quickly can they consume it or how ready is it for use? Do you have to buy some extra things? Do you have to read an instruction manual to be able to use it? So those are just some very general terms for how we can break a market into segments. We need to start doing research soon, so the next video I'm going to do on Thursday is going to concern market research. That's also on page 40. You can check it out before class. I'll put the videos and things that I showed you today online on the classroom, and you really got to get your ideas in. Please, if you haven't sent your ideas in yet, you need to send them now. So have a great day, and talk to you on Thursday.